Okay, so here we are live once again. Let me make sure that I'm up on screen. I forgot to pull up the pull up the screen on my phone, but we do want to make sure that there we go. All right. Just as long as the camera is actually working. That's the main thing I'm concerned with. All right, so here we are once again with another DC Multiverse unboxing, and if you can't tell what I've got to open up for you today, it's the new. They did it again. They did another one. Superman the movie. This is the deluxe theatrical edition. We'll see how deluxe it is, but got the Superman the movie poster art on the side. These are two different teaser posters for the movie. This is not what his emblem looked like in the movie. If anybody remembers, this is actually closer to what I would have had on the emblem of the for the emblem of the Strange Lives of Superman figure. You see, it's got the shield is kind of rounded at the bottom, like what I was talking about, how that probably should have looked. It does have a black outline on there, which, like I said, I don't really care for that. But yeah, that's not what Superman's emblem looked like in the movie at all. So it's kind of funny. They just have a more comic booky looking emblem than what they actually had in the movie. I'm not complaining. I like the way that Superman's emblem looks in the movie. I don't mind when Superman's emblem looks a little different if like it's supposed to look a little different. But I kind of feel like I said that logo perfect emblem, it wasn't really appropriate to the early Silver Age version of Superman. The slight nitpick. So anyway, I ordered this figure when it went up for pre-order. I was able to get this one and Joker and Bane from Big Bad Toy Store, and they shipped a lot earlier than I was expecting. Mcfarlane didn't announce these until I think maybe a week or so before they actually released them. It was really quick, and I got him and Joker and Bane. So I'll probably be opening them up very soon, and I should be shortly getting in the 1989 Joker, the not Jack Nicholson Joker, because we don't want to give Jack all that money. So we'll just get just close enough that he can't sue us. But I was kind of disappointed by something with this figure that I noticed when I first got him. You see how that cape's flopping around in there? This is not a wired cape. And I'm not happy about that. I considered opening this one up for my birthday figure yesterday, but I wound up doing Strange Lives of Superman instead, mainly because this one doesn't have a wired cape. And besides, I've done a Superman the movie, the figure. Superman the movie, the figure. I've opened one of these on the channel before, which is almost the same exact figure, but that one has a wired cape, so it's automatically better. But this one has a few more accessories that we'll get into discussing. And whether or not you think it's worth buying an entirely new Superman the movie figure just to have these few accessories in there, that's up to you. That's a decision you're going to have to make. I can't tell you whether or not it's going to be worth it for you, but I'll tell you this right now. I would probably say it was a lot more worth it if this one had a wired cape. I mean, I'm just gonna lay that on the table right now. Let's go ahead and open him up. So there we go. And if you remember, the last Superman the movie figure we opened had a lot of different hands in there. We've opened two of these already on the show before. Look at that. That's just sad. So when I saw the pictures of these, the publicity stills they shot, they had a picture where his cape was all like blowing dramatically in the wind, and I'm like, okay, good, it's a wired cape. So I feel like that was false advertising, because they put a picture up that clearly looked like he had a wired cape, and this figure does not have a wired cape. So shame on you for that, Mcfarlane. You should have given us a wired cape for this guy. Either that, or you should have had publicity pictures where like the cape was hanging there, flaccid, impotently, as this cape will do in real life, and not tried to make it look like that it had like a nice, dramatic wired cape, because this figure does not. Make no mistake, this is not a wired cape on this figure. I don't want anybody. Look. If you're somebody that like wired capes are not a big deal to you, and you don't mind it not having a wired cape, that's cool. I'm glad that that it's not going to bother you, honestly, and enjoy this Superman figure, really. But it's one of those things where it's they should have kept the wire in there, first of all, and second of all, that if like I said, if you're not going to have a wired cape, don't have pictures that make it look like it's got a wired cape, because that was one of the reasons I was glad to buy this figure, because I thought, oh, it's going to have a wired cape. Look at the picture where it clearly has a wired cape, and then it didn't. So shame on Mcfarlane for that. All right, so we got Superman out of the package. There he is, and we will compare I have the previous Superman the movie figure over here, the previous Christopher Reeve Superman, so we can go ahead and compare these two. But there he is with the new head. That's the head they have on the package, and it's a smiling head. And you might recall when I opened up the previous Superman figure, one of the things I said was it would be nice to have an alternate head where he's smiling. And sure enough, ask and ye shall receive. Mcfarlane did indeed give us a smiling Superman head. Now look at this. His cape got creased in the package, and that wouldn't be such a big deal, except for it got creased right where the little iron-on decal is. So there's a crease right in the middle of his Superman emblem on the back. That is unfortunate. Maybe I can get that back in shape. Just fold it, and then it's kind of starting to straighten out a little bit. Maybe it'll eventually just straighten out just from hanging there on its own. Maybe I can hit it with a hairdryer or something like that. But I do think that the smiling head is nice. Is it $35 nice? Worth buying a whole nother figure? No. I don't know if I'd say that. But it is nice to have a smiling Superman head. For me, this is worth buying because I'm going to do an episode on it. So we've got some material. So that's good. And I wanted to have an extra one of these Superman figures anyway. I'm still disappointed this is not a wired cape. But it'll work just fine for my purposes, which I'll show you in a little bit. I'll show you what I'm going to do with this Superman figure. And then you're going to see why it doesn't really matter for me if this figure has a wired cape, but I still wish it had a wired cape. All right, so we got some other stuff in here, and this is going to be a little more difficult to get out than I suspected. So we'll cut it with the tape. This thing is entirely taped in here. And when I say entirely taped, it's a flat surface with a giant piece of tape across the front of it. Hopefully that's not going to leave any residue. I don't think it's going to, but yeah, it seems fine. All right, so this is a little bitty stand that says Superman the movie on there. And the interesting thing about this is not the actual Superman the movie emblem logo. This is not the logo of Superman the movie. It can't be the logo of Superman the movie. And I'm not just talking about because is it on the package anywhere? I don't see it on the package anywhere. But for those of you who remember the Superman the movie logo, it was really fancy and airbrushed looking, and it was kind of crystalline to fit with the crystal look of Krypton in the movie. And this obviously isn't that. This is just the regular Superman logo from the comic book with the movie put underneath it. And it's impossible that they could have used this logo, actually, because this isn't even the Superman logo from the time, because longtime Superman readers will remember that they redesigned the Superman logo. The original one from back in the 1940s was designed by, God, what was that guy's name? that did all the lettering for DC back in the Golden Age and the Silver Age. I'm gonna have to look it up because I'm going nuts. Guy's name is on the tip of my tongue. DC Comics. I feel bad that I can't remember this guy's name. Letter. DC Comics lettering. Let's see if that'll get us the guy. I remember Milton Glazier's name the other day. You'd think I'd remember this legendary fellow's name, and he deserves to be remembered. I'll add Golden Age. And hopefully that'll help. Ira Schnapp, that's his name. Ira Schnapp designed the original Superman logo was designed by Joe Shuster. And Joe Shuster, I believe, took inspiration for that kind of telescoping look for it from one of the early movie posters for King Kong. Had a very similar design to the original Superman logo. So you can look that up on Google. Just Google original King Kong poster. It'll be one of the ones that pops up. So King Kong was hugely culturally impactful in the 1930s, and Superman even felt some of that. So yeah, that's where the original Superman logo came from. Joe Shuster designed it, and he hand lettered it on every comic strip and every cover and everything that he did, because I guess he didn't realize that you were supposed to photostat that. You didn't have to draw it every single time. So Ira Schnapp was DC's big letterer at the time. He designed most of their logos. If you think about a classic DC Comics logo from like the 1960s or earlier, Ira Schnapp probably designed it. And he designed the Superman logo that we saw on Superman comic books and merchandise from the 1940s on through the early part of the 1980s. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, I'm not sure what the motivation was. For whatever reason, they decided to redesign the Superman logo a little bit. Well, I don't know why you mess with perfection, but once they got into the 80s, they redesigned it a little bit. I forget who it was who did this one. It might have been Todd Klein. It might have been Gaspar Saldano. I'm not sure who it was. I don't remember. But and it's still a great looking logo. But the main differences are the letters are slightly more rounded. Like the original Ira Schnapp Superman logo had like where the U was kind of blocked off, and the R was and the P. They didn't have these kind of curves to them. The only letter that really had curves to it was the S, which I think the intention was to bring more attention to the S in the Superman. But yeah, this one from the 80s, this is one that they started using, I believe, in 1983, I think, maybe 84. This one would not have existed at the time that they designed the logo to Superman. Yeah, Ira Schnapp. That's the guy's name. Schnapp is his last name. Ira is his first name. And a fairly legendary figure in comic book history, but a lot of people don't know that name because he's the letterer, and a lot of people don't know the letterer. But if you're going to know any letterer in comic books, know Ira Schnapp, just because he designed all those. He designed all those logos that were so cool. So anyway, there's more to this little stand. It's not just look. It's got a little. I'll show you. Hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. I can just pull these pieces out without having to cut the tape, so that's nice. But see how it's got a little thing. It's a trading card stand. You can put the trading card in there, so that's nice. And then we got all these little hands, which if you remember the previous Superman the movie figure that I opened, it came with all these hands. So we'll talk about all these hands real quick. If you want to catch these hands. Like that dude who decided to try to pick a fight with Alan Richardson. That was not a smart thing to do. And now the whole internet is just mocking him, and he totally deserves it. Like, who sees Jack Reacher and decides to start a fight with this guy? Like, even if he didn't recognize him from TV, the guy's like 7 feet tall and 300 pounds of solid muscle. Who thinks, I could take him? Come on, you're a dude. You're like a regular dude. You're not gonna beat Jack Reacher. Like, you know, if you ever watch Reacher, like there's always some idiot that thinks he can take Jack Reacher. That's like just some dude, just like some guy that's like 5'10" and you know doesn't have any muscle, and like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kick this guy's ass. I was like, what are you doing? Stop. And Reacher's always like, yeah, I don't want to fight you, bro. And all right, fine, let's fight. And then he like beats him up in like 2.5 seconds. That's basically what happened to this guy in real life. Tried to pick a fight with Alan Richardson. What are you thinking? Now the dude's a laughing stock. He's got idiots sitting on their couches opening up action figures talking about how lame he is. Oh man. So many different hands in here, which gives us so many different display options. And you know I like extra display options. And Lone Dragon says, like walking up to Mike Tyson and telling him he talks. Exactly. What are you doing? And Mike Tyson once said, everybody's got a pen until they start getting hit. Yeah, it's like, that's basically this guy. He thought he was going to be all big and bad. And then like, and then he was like, you know, yelling at him for like driving through the neighborhood like a lunatic. And like, if you look the body cam, Alan Richardson thankfully had a body cam on him at the time. So he recorded the whole thing. He tried to just, the guy who started it tried to just put out just the part where he was getting his ass kicked and didn't put the stuff that was leading up to it. But Alan Richardson thankfully was wearing a body cam, and he knew, you know, he could prove that this guy instigated it, the whole thing. And now this guy's a laughing stock, and he deserves it. But yeah, the guy's like shoving him, like physically shoving him. Alan Richardson. It was ridiculous. And then he gets his ass kicked. But he's yelling at him for driving through the neighborhood like a lunatic on his motorcycle. And you can see on the body cam, you can see the speedometer on the motorcycle. Dude's going 20 miles an hour. He's going 5 miles under the speed limit in a residential neighborhood. So, yeah, and the guy, this is the worst part to me. The guy stepped out in front of the moving motorcycle. And when he was telling his side of the story, when he was when he was you know, trying to claim, oh, he you know, he was riding right towards me, and like, you see in the video, he steps out in front of him on a moving motorcycle. He steps out in front of him, and it's like, he deserved to get his ass, let alone the pushing. The pushing would have earned it, but just stepping out in front of a moving motorcycle like that, yeah, you deserved the beating you got. You could have caused like a serious accident. You could have he could have been very seriously injured. You could have been very seriously injured. Don't step out in front of any moving vehicle, especially on a motorcycle, because the person on the motorcycle could be seriously hurt. But like, even like a Mack truck or something, like, don't step. You will get splattered if their reaction time isn't good enough, if their brakes aren't good enough. What were you thinking, idiot? So yeah, the whole internet's just mocking this guy now, and he totally deserves it. He's earned it all. Yeah, see, if I'd have realized this was on the back here, I could have shown you guys exactly what I'm talking about. See, because there's the actual Superman the movie logo, which is based on the older Superman comic book logo. But you see how like the U is kind of more blocked off at the bottom, whereas this one is a little more roundish. These are the sort of things that like I don't think most people would notice, honestly. I would say like most people go, oh, this is Superman the movie logo, and just move on with their day. I notice things like this. I notice little details like that. That's something that always stands out for me. That's a completely different logo. So, and this is a nice thick card with the Superman the movie, the teaser poster on there, which was a very beautiful piece. That's Bob Peak, by the way, who was one of the greatest movie poster artists of all time. He did a lot of Star Trek movie posters. He did a lot of other great posters. One of my favorite movies of all time, Excalibur. He did the poster for that. Gorgeous, gorgeous work. And his son paints movie posters too, and he's really talented. And he's most famous. His son painted the Nightmare on Elm Street posters, so he's most famous for that. Now, these little stands are intended to hold up the poster, and honestly, I'm kind of nervous about putting them on here, but it seems like it goes on here kind of loosely, which is good. I was afraid of like putting this on here and having it kind of mark it up, but it seems like it actually kind of slides on there kind of loosely. I mean, you can see it's not going to fall off or anything if you pick it up, but it's also not on there tightly enough that I don't think it's going to scratch up the card, which I was afraid it might. So it's got like a little card stand that can hold up this big card, so you can have the actual poster of Superman the movie behind Superman on your shelf if you want to. And then there's here's the I should show the insert here with the New York City in the background. Got the World Trade Centers there, never forget. But yeah, this is, I believe, where they shot the photos across the river with Christopher Reeve. Obviously he's not in this photo, but it kind of, I guess, gives the illusion of him standing in front of it if we want to, have him standing in front of it. Too bad we're going to pull this trading card and this figure stand off of here, and that's going to completely ruin the image. Also, the image is in black and white and the figure's in color, so I guess it's not perfect, but it's nice that they tried to give you a little bit of extra character to the packaging. I think it looks good. So anyway, while the on the trading card stand, this logo might not be period accurate, we do have a period accurate DC Comics logo on there. That's what the DC Comics logo looked like when this movie came out. And of course, that's something that like James Gunn brought this design of the DC logo back. Previously, it was this Rebirth logo, which I like fairly well, but I do much prefer my Bronze Age DC logo. I've been critical about a lot of things James Gunn has done while he's been at DC, but this is one thing where I will say I absolutely agree with James Gunn in bringing back this DC logo. I think he did a good job. On credit where credit is due. I'm not going to be the kind of guy who's just going to hate everything you do because I don't like you as a human being. If I think you're the scum of the earth and you actually do something I think is cool, I'm going to give you credit for it. Now, am I saying James Gunn is the scum of the earth? Well, I'm saying I like this decision that he made. We'll leave it at that. That was a good decision that James Gunn made. That was one of that moves him up a notch in my book, which puts him at notch 1. All right. So here is the trading card with a very nice shot of Christopher Reeve again flying over the New York City skyline. New York City fills in for Metropolis in this movie, which makes sense. Denny O'Neil once said that I'm paraphrasing here, but Denny O'Neil once said that Metropolis is the nicest part of New York City in broad daylight, and Gotham City is the worst part of New York City at midnight. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the actual exact quote. He's from New York, or he was from New York, so he knew like the specific areas. I don't remember what the specific areas were because I'm from deep down south, and I ain't never been north of the Mason-Dixon line. So I couldn't possibly tell you anything about the geographical quirks of New York City. I ain't never been there. Yeah, here in Atlanta, everybody calls every kind of soda Coke. It doesn't matter if it's Pepsi or RC. It doesn't matter if it's a cola. You go to a friend's house and they'll be like, "Hey, you want a Coke?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, sure, I'll take a Coke." Well, what kind of Coke you want? I got Dr. Pepper, I got Sprite, I got Orange Crush. Well, do you have Coke? Oh no, I ain't got Coke. Coke's the only kind of Coke I ain't got. So I'm not making fun of the South. I'm just kind of gently joshing with it a little bit. I love living down here. I love the South. It's good people down here. It really is. So but we got our little quirks is what I'm saying. So but yeah, that, and you see it says Deluxe Theatrical Edition over here with the foil. Nice picture of Christopher Reeve flying through the sky. I believe this is from the scene where Lex Luthor is sending out that high frequency message that only Superman and dogs can hear. So you got all the dogs barking and Superman's flying around trying to track down Luthor's lair. And there's what the back of the card looks like. And it reads, Superman the movie, 1978, real name Clark Kent Kal-El. From the doomed planet of Krypton, two parents launch a spaceship carrying their infant son to Earth. He grows up to become Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Now, remember yesterday, I was talking about this bio on here, and look how much bio we have on there. And I said they could have fit more stuff in there. I kind of feel like there's more stuff that's important that they could have fit in there. This one's much shorter, and I think it covers the character better. So it just goes to show that sometimes, like my buddy Bill Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit, and sometimes less is more. And to me, it's more important to mention, that he's Clark Kent than to mention that he's in the Justice League. Honestly, if we're coming down to it. And, they couldn't say in this version that he's in the Justice League anyway, because they didn't have a live-action Justice League movie in 1978. But that would have been awesome, because if they had done a live-action Justice League in 1978, it would have had Linda Carter and Adam West, and that would have been just like the greatest movie of all time. Lone Dragon says, tell them you want the kind that comes in lines, and a dollar bill. A dollar bill will work if you don't have straws. Well, hey, some people down here in Atlanta will probably have that too. I've never touched this stuff and never will. I never intend to. But I definitely rather have the kind that you snort than the kind that you smoke out of a pipe. If that kind might be a little more common around here, maybe. Anyway, so I have over here the previous release of the Mcfarlane Superman the movie figure, which, as you can see, is vastly superior just because it has a wired cape. That's the only reason. And the extra head is nice. I like the extra head, and I like these extra accessories. Oh, let's put the trading card in the trading card stand so we can see what that looks like before I forget. And this one does seem like it's a bit tighter. Is it going to scratch up the trading card? It's going to scratch up the trading card, I think, a little bit in the back. It doesn't look like it did too bad. It's not as fancy as the previous Mcfarlane trading card stands, but at least it has a trading card stand. But yeah, the one selling point that the new figure has over the older figure is it has that smiling head, which is really nice. But is it worth sacrificing the wired cape? I don't know about that. I think that depends on how much you like having a smiling head versus how much you like having a wired cape. You're going to have to make that decision on your own. But personally, I'm glad I have both because then I can have kind of the best of both worlds. So yeah, let's talk about the hands for a little bit, real quick. And we've been over these hands before with the previous Superman, but here we've got kind of a hand that looks like it's grabbing at something. That's a good hand for evil Superman, if you've got the evil Superman figure, which I do. And then these two kind of loose-looking gripping hands. I don't think they'd hold anything too tightly, but he does have gripping hands. And then this is important for a Christopher Reeve Superman figure, is a pointing hand. Because, again, there's that famous publicity photo of him standing on the side of the river pointing up at the sky. So we've got one of that, so you can recreate that pose. And then also very important for a Christopher Reeve Superman figure, this is my favorite of the alternate hands, is the one that's holding the crystal, the Fortress of Solitude. And then you've got two flying / saluting hands. You got two of those, one for each hand. And then the other hands that we have in here is or the other heads, I'm sorry, that we have in here is we have the default, this kind of neutral expression for Christopher Reeve. And then the last head that we have is the evil Superman head. And, they did the evil Superman figure. It was a platinum edition, so it wasn't quite, there wasn't quite as many of those as the previous Superman, the regular Superman, the movie figure, obviously. But I was still able to get one, and I'm very glad that I did. But yeah, they still have the evil Superman head that comes with it as an alternate. And, he does wear still kind of the bright Superman outfit when he first becomes evil Superman. So I guess it still kind of makes sense that he has that. So I had my Superman displayed with the crystal. And not only did I do that, but I had this that I 3D printed up. Found this on the Cults 3D website. If anybody has a 3D printer and they want to do this themselves, the console from the Fortress of Solitude, and I had it set up where he was standing in the console like that. That was how I had my Superman figure displayed. But now that I got this Superman figure, he's going to be the one, since he doesn't have a wired cape and he's just going to be standing around in a console anyway. He's going to be the one that stands around the console with his cape hanging down impotently, flaccidly. It has no wires in it to support it. But yeah, and by the way, I printed this out in glow-in-the-dark filament. So this actually does glow in the dark. Jason's Electric says, hey, Alan, do I need this if I have the previous 3 releases of the figure? Well, that's a good question. And actually, I'd forgotten about the Page Punchers version. I don't have that version. And I know a lot of people really like that version, and they actually like the head better on that one than the regular Christopher Reeve Superman. But I never actually got that one. But I will say this is, like, if you already have this one, it's the same figure, and it's a better figure because it's got a wired cape. Just straight up, it's a better figure. The only real selling point, like, the trading card is nice. It's a new trading card, but it's just a trading card. And this thing with the movie poster, that's nice, but it's just kind of a thing to put in the background. And the trading card does have a trading card stand, which I kind of feel like all these deluxe figures should have trading card stands. But yeah, no wired cape. That's very disappointing. So the main reason to buy this, I think, the main reason for the Mcfarlane should expect you to plunk down your $35 if you're going to, is the new head sculpt with the smiling Superman head. And who knows, you might be able to, like, I don't know what this is going for on eBay right now, but you might be able to find this on eBay with somebody selling it for, If you can get this on eBay for $20, like in the $20 range, if you can get it for less than $35, this head on eBay for less than $35, then just go ahead and buy that. And then you've got a smiling head to put on your Superman figure with the wired cape. That would be my advice. Now, me, I didn't necessarily, even though I'm disappointed he doesn't have a wired cape, I didn't necessarily mind buying this figure again, because, again, I wanted an extra one. And he's just going to stand in the console. So since he's going to stand in this console, it doesn't really matter that his cape hangs down like that. And also, I get to do a video talking about it. I've got to the point where a lot of the times that I'll buy something not even just because I want to have it in my collection necessarily, but because I want to talk about it on this YouTube channel. And I definitely wanted to talk about this guy. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and swap out the heads and the hands on these figures. Because like I said, this one's going to wind up being the one that stands in the console. So I'm just going to put... where's the other... There should be another fit. Oh, it's on the figure already. Duh. Lose my head if it wasn't screwed on. So this is going to be the one that I display on a flight stand, since I can get like some cool dramatic poses out of that cape. He's going to be the one that goes on the flight stand. So I'll figure out what kind of pose I want to get him into. So we'll set that aside. Oh yeah, and speaking of stuff that I 3D printed for Superman the movie, I wanted to show this off too. Is somebody made a Marlon Brando Jor-El head to put on action figures. And I'm like, hey, why don't I scale that up and make it gigantic? And then I can have a big holographic floating Jor-El head to, be in my Fortress of Solitude. And man, like sometimes white kind of washes out on the computer monitor, but that works really well in his favor. It's really given him like a really cool look. But yeah, there's my giant floating Jor-El head. So, and you can see how well that scales with the Superman figure. It really is a giant head. So set that aside, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the regular Superman head, just the default Superman head on here, the neutral expression, and then we'll put the crystal hand back on here because he's going to go on my shelf like that. He's going to go on my shelf in the console. That's how he's going to be, just like that. And that's going to look cool on my shelf. So for me, I didn't really need a wired cape, at least for this one that I'm going to display in this manner. So it's not the end of the world, but I still say that Mcfarlane should have given this figure a wired cape. And if they weren't going to give him a wired cape, they shouldn't have made it look like he had a wired cape in the publicity photos that they shot for this. And shame on Mcfarlane for doing that. That's false advertising. So that was not very cool of them to do that. And hey, since I've got like a new neutral expression Christopher Reeve Superman head, not the kind of surly looking evil Superman head, I'm going to go ahead and put the regular Superman head onto my Godzilla Superman figure. There we go. And like I said, the colors match up pretty well with that. So now I've got the more neutral looking Superman head on there than the evil looking Superman head. His hair is a little neater, and that's a really nice Superman figure that I have now. That I adjusted the Godzilla Superman figure with that horrible head and the no belt loops. Well, I painted on the belt loops and I gave him a better head. So now it's like, now I took and made it into like the best Superman action figure ever made, honestly. All right, so before I end this episode, I do want to make sure I talk about the articulation. But real quick, I want to go over the figure itself. It's basically the same figure, except for it doesn't have a wire in the cape, and the blue on this figure I think is just slightly, ever so slightly different. I don't know if it's even coming across on the camera because it is a very similar shade of blue, but this one is just slightly lighter and slightly a little more turquoise, and this one is just ever so slightly darker. You see that? So they're both accurate to the movie, I think. But you know, it's they you know, kind of the color of the blue in his suit would vary depending on how the lighting was and what suit they were using. And you know, like sometimes, like, I guess the fabric wasn't quite as deep as others in terms of like the coloring, but you know, anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So Superman can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. They raise up about that far. He's got the cool Mcfarlane butterfly joint there, so you get some wiggle room there. That's good. Superman has double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows. Superman has the cool Mcfarlane wrist articulation, so you can rotate the wrist around where the wrist meets the fist and where the wrist meets the forearm. See that? And then you can get all kinds of cool poses out of that because of the way it hinges. So Mcfarlane has the best wrist articulation in the business, which is why Mattel has now copied them on the Masters Universe Chronicles figure. What you move over there? One other thing that I think would have been great to have with this figure, while I'm talking about it, is a flight stand. This isn't a complaint. This is actually a complaint. This should have had a wired cape. But as a nitpicking, as an armchair quarterbacking, one thing that they could have done to give some added value to this figure and make it maybe worth your $35 is to give it a flight stand. I think that would have been something that would have been better in hindsight. But whatever, it is what it is. So Superman has the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation, and you can bend him back and forth at the rib cage there, and frontwards and backwards, back and forth about that far. And then, of course, it rotates all the way around where the rib cage meets the abdomen, and where the abdomen meets the belt, where it meets the trunks, and get a lot of cool dramatic poses out of that. Superman can kick up about that far. And then he's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. Man, it's too bad Mcfarlane's wrapping up, because there are a lot of other Superman the movie figures and figures from this series of movies I would have liked to have seen. Technically, we got two characters, because we got, you know, Superman, obviously, and we got the evil version of Superman. But it would have been nice to have, you know, Lex Luthor, General Zod, Lois Lane, Jor-El, Jimmy Olsen. Hell, I'd buy a Jimmy Olsen figure from this. So, like I said about 1989 Batman, I'd buy pretty much any figure that they put out from the Christopher Reeve Superman films. I'd buy a Richard Pryor action figure. Like, I'd buy a Richard Pryor action figure just to have an action figure of one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time, let alone to have an action figure of Gus Gorman. But no joke, I'd buy that action figure. Nuclear Man? Oh, hell yeah, I would buy a Nuclear Man action figure. Jason's Electric says he'd like a George Reeves Superman also, and I absolutely agree. I cannot possibly agree with that statement more. We're long overdue on a George Reeves Superman action figure of any kind, honestly. But yeah, George Reeves is one of my favorite actors ever to play Superman, still to this day, and he's my favorite Clark Kent. If we're talking like specifically that part of the playing Superman, I like his version of Clark Kent the best. But you know, a lot of people, we were talking about this. I was on Skywalker the Jedi stream the other day, and we had a lot of fun. He's a cool guy. Talking about like various versions, DC versions. And, you know, a lot of people talk about how the Christopher Reeve version of Clark Kent was kind of goofy. And let's be honest, he was kind of goofy. But, you know, that was a deliberate artistic decision because, you know, he was trying to make it so that there was a very clear distinction. He wanted to make it believable that this is to me the thing that I like best about Christopher Reeve's performance. Actually, he wanted to make it believable that you'd see this guy with glasses and not just think that he's Superman. Sean Franklin is here, and he says hi. Hi, Sean Franklin. Always glad to see you. This is another thing though that's better with the wired cape. Even with it just kind of you see how it just kind of sticks up at the sides there. Well, if I had a wired cape, that wouldn't be a problem, would it? Because I could take the wires and kind of bend them down. And doesn't that look much better with the wires in there? Man, they really should have put some wires in this cape. I'm just saying, it's very disappointing to me they did not wire the cape. So, and it just because of it's that kind of jersey fabric, and it's kind of sticky uppy there because of the way that it seamed. So it should kind of sit more flush with his shoulders like that, but it's not doing it. Sean Franklin asked, do you like Walker, Texas Ranger? Well, I've never actually seen too much of Walker, Texas Ranger, but I did acknowledge around the time that it passed that Chuck Norris had tragically passed away. I'm still not even sure what happened. They said he had a medical emergency, but they never said exactly what it was. But yeah, I was pretty saddened to hear about his passing. Like I watched a lot of his movies growing up. And the thing that I'd said about Chuck Norris at the time, and I'll say this again, is like this is the best thing that I can say about Chuck Norris. Me personally, as a guy who sits on his couch and opens action figures on YouTube, this is the best thing that I can say about Chuck Norris to honor his passing, is that when they made action figures of Arnold Schwarzenegger, they made action figures of Conan. They made action figures of the Terminator. They made action figures of The Last Action Hero. When they made action figures of Sylvester Stallone, they made action figures of Rocky and Rambo and John Spartan from Demolition Man. When they made action figures of Chuck Norris, they made action figures of Chuck Norris. Like the line of Chuck Norris action figures wasn't it wasn't Lone Wolf McQuade, it wasn't Missing in Action, it wasn't the Octagon. The Chuck Norris action figures were called Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. So you were playing with an action figure of Chuck Norris himself. You weren't playing with like when you were playing with an action figure of Rambo, you were playing with an action figure of Rambo. You weren't playing with an action figure of Sylvester Stallone, the actor, even if it was his likeness. You were playing with an action figure of the character of Rambo. But Chuck Norris, they didn't make a character. they just he's just Chuck Norris. So that's the best way that I personally can honor Chuck Norris on this channel, I think. But I was reading a little bit, honestly, about Walker, Texas Ranger, because in Lone Wolf McQuade, Chuck Norris played a Texas Ranger, and I was kind of thinking about that, and I'm like, I wonder if that was something where like he just liked that character and wanted to play him again. And basically, that was what happened when they made Walker, Texas Ranger. They wanted to make a show of Lone Wolf McQuade, but somebody else had the rights to the characters. So they're like, well, we'll change it just enough that it'll be like an original thing. So that's where Walker, Texas Ranger came from. And yeah, it was Lone Wolf McQuade was one of his favorite movies that he did, which was, in his mind, it was kind of like a modern style of a John Wayne movie. And I like that movie in particular because David Carradine played the villain in it. So that was pretty cool to have Chuck Norris versus David Carradine. That was nice. I like David Carradine. I did see that the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair was coming out on Blu-ray and all that finally. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I didn't finish talking about the articulation. So because we still got the ankle articulation to talk about. So Superman has the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation. It rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the shin and where the ankle meets the foot. So you can rotate that all over the place. And his foot, you already saw, points down about that far and points up about that far. And then he's got toe articulation just to show off. So there is all the articulation on our Christopher Reeve Superman the movie figure. Yeah, if you saw my previous video, you already saw me talking about it, but maybe not everybody did see that video. And if you did, you can go back and watch it. It's still up there on YouTube. So just go through where it has the live videos. So if I had to pick one of these Superman figures to be the superior Superman figure, I'm going with the one with the wired cape. But I will say that the smiling head is really nice. And if you're gonna buy this figure for any reason, that's the reason to buy it. But if you already have this figure with the wired cape, you already have the better version of it, I'm gonna say. And if you can find the smiling head on eBay for cheap, then you don't really need to buy this other figure again. But I kind of doubt you're going to be able to find this head on eBay for very cheap. I think it's going to be a pricey head to buy on eBay anyway. Like I said, if you see it for like $20, buy it for $20. It's still going to save you $15 if you already have the regular Superman action figure. But really, the only reason to buy this is for the smiling head, honestly. And I don't know if it's worth $35 for a new head for a figure without a wire. If it had a wired cape, I'd say, yeah, it's worth buying it again. Because, you know, I'm going to display this figure twice. So I don't mind having an extra one. And like I said, for me, it's not going to be so bad that he has this, this non-wired cape. Because he's just going to be standing in that console anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get one last look at that before we end the show. So that's how he's going to look on my shelf, and that's how he's going to look when I take the photo for the thumbnail. I'm going to put him in the console and have him like that. I do love my console. It looks really cool. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the other YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure. YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe, so I like to say like and subscribe. I like it when you leave comments. So leave a comment just for me and tell me what you think about this figure. Next, I'm not sure what I'm going to open up next because tomorrow I'm supposed to be getting in, like I said, the 1989 Joker. So I'll have that to open up at some point in the very near future. I don't know if I'm going to open it tomorrow. It depends on how early it's going to show up. Like if it shows up before I do my episode, I'll probably go ahead and do that episode. I'll probably do that for the episode. If not, I think I'm going to open up Bane. So it's either going to be the 1989 Joker or Bane. I kind of feel like it would make sense if I did, because I've got the Heath Ledger Joker. I kind of feel like it would make sense if I do those Joker figures back to back. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna work better that way, I think. So and we'll definitely have a lot to talk about with those Joker figures and with Bane. I've been looking forward to. I've been hoping to get those Dark Knight figures for a while, and I figured I was probably going to have to pay a premium price for that Joker figure. And I definitely wanted to have the Bane figure, which was a Build-A-Figure. So that meant I was going to have to buy all the rest of the figures in that wave. And those are all so expensive, man. And it's like, at this point, I've got I've got the Scarecrow in the suit. So I don't really need the Scarecrow in the straight jacket. So if I don't get him, oh well, it's not the end of the world. But I would like to try to get Two-Face, and that might wind up being a pricey figure. But at least I was able to get a Joker figure and a Bane figure at retail, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I'm really excited to open up both of those. So if the 1989 Joker shows up before I shoot my episode tomorrow, the episode will be 1989 Joker. And if not, it's going to be Bane. And either way, you're going to get me talking about one of the greatest Batman villains of all time. Either way. So you'll win either way. It's going to be a good episode one way or the other. And that is exciting. So, and I'll have two Joker figures to open up. two very different versions of the Joker to talk about. I was thinking this week about doing the Clawful trilogy that I wanted, because I've got 3 different figures of Clawful from Masters of the Universe. I've got the Masterverse version, and I've got the 2000X cartoon collection version, and I have the regular Origins the regular Origins version with the vintage style design of the action figure. So I think I'm going to do that next week. I was thinking about doing that this week, but since I went to visit my mother during the week, and then I did the Strange Lives of Superman for my birthday figure, and then I realized, well, I could do Clawful on, Thursday, Friday, and or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, even though I missed Thursday. But I don't know for certain if I'm going to do an episode on Sunday, and I'm probably not going to do an episode on either Monday or Tuesday. I mean, I might do one on one of those days, but I probably won't do it on both of those days. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of figured it would be a better idea to do Clawful next week. So next week, tentatively, because if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. Tentatively, I'm planning on opening up the 3 Clawful figures next week, and then I've got like a whole lot more DC and a whole lot more Masters of the Universe stuff. So and I've got some G.I. Joe stuff. I've got some Marvel stuff. Like a lot of people feel like I don't open up enough Marvel stuff on this channel. And I will admit that, like, I would like to open more Marvel stuff on this channel. But the thing is like, I bought like a ton of Marvel Legends figures in the years before I started this channel. Like, I kind of fell out of it at like COVID, honestly, because distribution was bad, and like Marvel Legends are just really expensive now. Like your app, not this one obviously was the theatrical version, so it was pricier. But even then, I still feel like this was a better deal at $35 than most Marvel Legends figures are at like $27 is how much Marvel Legends figures are at $28 technically at Walmart right now. Kyrus1 is here, and he says hi. Well, hi, good to see you. Unfortunately, we're right at the end of the episode, though, so yeah. I'm sorry. But you can go back and watch the rest of the episode. It's cool. But yeah, like they're just so expensive nowadays, and I kind of feel like I have every character that I want out of Marvel at this point. It's very rare they put out a new Marvel figure that I really want. Kyrus says, I want a classic Etrigan one day. It would have been really nice. Mcfarlane's done 2 different Etrigan figures, and they're both based on the new 52 version. They're both the same sculpt. Like, that one was like one of the biggest peg warmers in the entire Multiverse line, and they did a repaint of it as like one of those black light repaint figures. And I'm like, just give us a classic Etrigan already. That's what we really want. But unfortunately, they decided to do the new 52 version. If they'd have done the classic version, I would already have it. Unfortunately, I don't think they've got much time to do it in the time that they have left. So I kind of doubt, unfortunately. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I had better news for you as far as that goes. I doubt Mcfarlane's going to get around to it. But here's some really good news. The rumor that I heard, and this is just a rumor, don't take this with a giant grain of salt. The rumor that I heard is that Etrigan is one of the figures that Mattel is considering for their adult collector line when they start that. So hopefully they'll do a great job with that. And like I said, I really like the Masterverse figures. I thought they did a great job with that. And I was saying if they could do figures on that level of quality for DC, I'll be happy with it. But go back and watch my video talking about the Masters Universe Chronicles Scareglow figure. And as much as I love Masterverse, I feel like that figure was actually kind of a quantum leap ahead in terms of quality for their Masters of the Universe figures. That's like probably one of the best Masters of the Universe figures that Mattel's ever made. Honestly, I don't want to blow it too out of proportion, but if they can make DC figures that are on the level of quality of that Scareglow figure, I mean, we ain't got nothing to worry about as far as getting some good DC stuff out of Mattel. Oh, Jor-El fell over. He almost fell off the table. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this this particular iteration of the Superman the movie figure and how you feel like it measures up. Jose Membrane's here, and he's literally right at the very end of the episode, unfortunately. But says, thank you so much for your videos, Alan. You always have good insights. Well, thanks. I appreciate you telling me that. Like, it's always good when you stop by. It's always good when all you guys stop by. Lone Dragon, Jason's Electric, Sean Franklin, Kairos. I always like seeing you guys. So thanks for stopping by. You know, I've said before that when I started doing these as live streams, it wasn't because I was intending on chatting with people in the chat. I honestly didn't know that was even going to be a thing. I just was doing it this way because it was more convenient for me to get the videos up. But I enjoy chatting with people in the chat, and that became kind of like a happy little side effect of doing the videos in this style. So, and to think I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't just extremely lazy. But I'm grateful that we've built a little bit of a community here, and I've got a lot of cool people that stop by here, and you guys say cool stuff, and sometimes you get me off on tangents, but I kind of feel like at this point, if you're a regular on this channel, you're used to me going off on tangents, and that's probably part of the reason why you watch this channel is because you like the tangents. So maybe one day I'll get back into where I'm doing videos where I'm just going off on tangents and just talking about random things. Like I did a couple of videos just talking about characters in general and my thoughts about them. And like there's really early on, I've got a video about Mr. Fantastic and a video about Golden Age Superman, specifically Golden Age Superman. And maybe I'll do some more of those in the future at some point. Who knows? But that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Again, like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. We will talk to you next time. Bye.